In the center of London, at 20 Fenchurch Street, there's a skyscraper designed by a guy named Raphael Vanoli. Vanoli thought it'd be cool to make the structure slightly concave in order to increase space on the top floors of the building. It turns out though that this wasn't cool at all. It was actually really hot. For 2 hours a day during a 2 to 3 week period every summer, the building focuses sunlight into a beam so powerful that it could theoretically kill someone standing nearby. And since no one realized this until they actually built the building, there's now a giant unmovable heat ray in the middle of London that will continue to melt cars and start fires for several weeks a year from now until the end of time. All that is to say, people make mistakes, including us. That's what this video is about. We're gonna rank all of the major mistakes we made this past year, from oopsie to this is why you're not supposed to use HI as a source for your academic papers. But as we go through each of these mistakes, just try to remember, at least we only slightly misled you and didn't incinerate your vehicle. Okay, so tied for the bottom of our list are all of the typos we made this year. Luthor, bovine, caffeine, plutonum, transatlantic, February, this number is 100 too small, this number is 10 times too big, this cookie is 1 million times too big, and this title is a really weird way of spelling these words. On to the next mistake. In our video about the monetary value of your life, we used this symbol to represent healthcare. What we should have used was this symbol, the rod of Asclepius. The symbol we actually used is called a caduceus, which is meant to represent commerce, theft, deception, and death. Insert joke about American healthcare system. The reason that these two symbols get mixed up by dumb YouTubers is a little interesting though. It turns out the US Army Medical Corps started using the caduceus in 1902 by accident, thinking it was the rod of Asclepius, and continue to use it to this day because, unlike us, they don't want to admit they made a big, embarrassing, and extremely avoidable mistake. This is not the flag of Australia. This is the flag of a fictional place called Middle-earth, featured in J.R.R. Tolkien's celebrated fantasy series, The Lord of the Rings. Our video about Hollywood dump months might have led you to believe that the Super Bowl is always the first Sunday in February, when, in fact, last year's Super Bowl was the last Super Bowl where that was true. From 2022 onward, Super Bowls will be held the second Sunday in February instead. In our defense, we're a bunch of giant nerds. What did you expect? In our video dunking on the new off-brand Russian McDonald's, I tried to hand it to them for at least adding shrimp to the menu. Well, it turns out Russian McDonald's has been selling shrimp for years, so unfortunately, I can no longer hand it to them. In our video about the world's newest country, I said that France was recognized by every other country in the world. That's mostly true, except for the fact that it's a little bit not true. That's thanks to this place, Bhutan. Bhutan's isolationist government only maintains formal diplomatic relations with these countries and instead relies on India for most of their protection and international negotiations. Most other countries, like France, exist in kind of a gray area where Bhutan doesn't recognize them in any sort of official capacity because they don't need to. So just to be safe, we'll strike France off the list of real countries for all future videos. In our video about the Hajj Metro, I described the Hajj as a, quote, religious pyramid, when I meant to say, quote, religious pilgrimage. There's actually only one remaining religious pyramid in the world, and it's the Bass Pro Shop in Memphis, Tennessee. In last year's mistakes video, as is tradition, I made a mistake. I pointed out that snakes don't poison you, they envenomate you because their venom goes directly into your bloodstream. Except it doesn't. The toxic molecules that compose snake venom are generally too large to enter the bloodstream and travel through your lymphatic system instead. So now, 2 years after the fact, you guys finally know how snakes work. As many of you have pointed out, I implied that Cicero was Greek when I said, quote, the art of writing words really fast dates all the way back to ancient Greece with this guy, Cicero. And sure, Cicero was Roman, not Greek, but, Uno reverse card, it turns out this mistake was mistakenly not a mistake. You see, as I mentioned in this video, shorthand didn't originate with Cicero, but with his slave, Tyro. And after the defeat of Macedonians at the Battle of Pydna in 168 BCE, the demographics of slave in ancient Rome actually skewed heavily Greek, meaning there's a good chance that Tyro and his writing system were actually from ancient Greece. Checkmate, pedants. When we somehow found ourselves citing Supreme Court decisions in our video about the origin of the high five, I mentioned Justice Clarence Thomas's dissent in Dobbs, and this was actually a concurrence. He was concurring that women shouldn't have rights and adding that maybe gay people also shouldn't have rights. Cool. In our video about the Everglades jetport, I said that the Everglades were here and filled with alligators when they're actually here and filled with crocodiles. The only species that live here are old white people and bipedal mice. Most people would consider using JFK's assassination as part of an elaborate joke to be a mistake, but when we did that in our video about U-Haul registration, it was especially a mistake because we said it happened in 1968. JFK was actually assassinated 5 years earlier. It was his brother, Robert Kennedy, who was assassinated that year. That joke doesn't work well with RFK, but that's the cost of being an educational YouTuber. And finally, at number 1, our worst mistake of the year. Frankly, I owe you all an apology with this one. It basically ruins an entire video, and there's no excuse for misleading you all so badly. The video in question is this one: why planes fly over the North Pole but not the South Pole. In this video, I used a bunch of long and winding explanations involving flight regulations, airport positioning, and a whole bunch of other nonsense. But you guys, my dedicated audience, came out in droves to show me that the problem was much simpler than I was making it out to be. Because it turns out that Antarctica is actually a crystalline ice wall surrounding a flat disk Earth, which is enclosed like a snow globe for tax reasons, and that's why planes don't fly there. But don't worry, I promise I won't make that mistake again. Now, there's only one place on the internet better for learning science facts than the YouTube comments section, and that's Brilliant. Brilliant is my favorite place to learn new STEM concepts. They can make something as complicated as quantum computing fun to learn and easy to understand. They have these interactive lessons that are based on teaching you small, intuitive principles, then slowly building them up into the bigger concepts. That way you start a course by using an artificial neuron to deduce where a cat likes and doesn't like to be scratched, and finish with a full introductory understanding of how neural networks function. And using Brilliant for just a few minutes each day can help you stay sharp and retain the math and science skills that you'd otherwise just lose with age. People who enjoy my channels really seem to love Brilliant, and I think you probably would too. It's a great way to kill some spare time and turn it into something productive. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/HAI or click the button on screen, and the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription.